And today we do have a very interesting guest who's definitely been venturing Africa and basically is creeping off the narrative about Africa. So definitely gonna introduce him, but you can definitely check him out at Kixkeya at the Global Village where he's been actually sharing his experience here in Africa. So welcome to this amazing conversation. I hope it's gonna help you actually lose or everything in regards to fear and actually help you reconnect back to the African roots here in Africa. Welcome again. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. My name is Musa from Kixkeya Global Village. And Eriton, it's a pleasure to be able to have conversations with you and allow me to come on the podcast and, share our experience on the
Mhm.
continent and throughout our travels.
You're so welcome. Such a pleasure to have you here. Feel free, feel at home, and I'm really excited about your journey regarding Africa or basically adventuring Africa. And I feel like it's really important for a lot of individuals who definitely want to take that step to understand how it is or has been for you, and the fact that it's really important for us to reconnect to our culture roots and basically dive in more regarding to the African identity. The
Definitely.
subject about the African identity. I think it's really important when you know about your identity.
Definitely.
Yes.
I agree.
So tell us more about your adventure here in Africa and how it is super important for individuals to reconnect back to their culture and basically reconnect to their African identity.
Yeah, definitely. I've been traveling on the continent for a little over a year.
Okay.
And so, of course, there's like 54 countries within the continent. So I have not been to every single one of them,
Mm-hmm.
but the few countries that I've been to, I would say the experience has been amazing. I spent most of, I would say a chunk of my time in West Africa, in Senegal, in the Gambia.
Right.
My experience there was great. I think when I first landed at the airport,
Okay.
I had like a silent moment because I was seeing so many familiar faces, even
Okay.
though I didn't really know the individual, but the faces look very familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, some of my friends back in the States, some of my friends back in the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
And so, right there and then, I saw like there was like a physical, um, uh, I would say, connection
Okay.
because of the simple fact that like the phenotypes,
Mm-hmm.
they match. You know what I mean? um, as if those who are living on the continent and those of us who are living in the Caribbean
Okay.
and the States
Mm-hmm.
have some type of familiarity when it comes to roots, when it comes to genetics, and so on and so forth. And so I think that was like one of the first, I would say, like aha moments,
Okay.
when it comes to that connection. And then, of course, the food, the music,
Mm-hmm.
growing up, I listen to a lot of compa music. I'm
Okay.
not sure
Yes,
if you're familiar with
I
compa
am
music.
familiar with
You
the
know,
comfort music.
yeah.
Yes.
So I remember I was in Senegal, and then I was staying at an Airbnb. It was like a house with multiple
Okay.
rooms,
Okay.
and my host happened also to live in the same
Mm-hmm.
house,
Mm-hmm.
and he was playing compa music. I was like, is this guy playing this music because he knows that I probably listen to it or
Mm-hmm.
something? But that was like the other connection, like, oh wow,
Right.
these people actually listen to this music.
Right.
Like, it's not because he knows that I grew up listening to it
Mm.
that he's playing it, but in my mind I'm like, does he even understand what they're saying, you know? But that shows the, of course, the
Right.
connection, the music,
Yeah.
like the dancing, the dress styles, and tendencies, and so
Right.
on and so forth. So that made me feel at home, right there and then. I'm like, okay, I
Right.
can hang.
I'm glad the fact that you said that it made you feel at home. But before
Yeah.
we move forward,
Mhm.
what narrative did you have about Africa?
You know,
Or what narrative do they actually sell about Africa?
yeah, well, I mean, of course, there is a lot of narratives,
Yeah.
but personally, for me, I would say that I have been educating myself
Okay.
about Africa through history by learning the books. and also I didn't get a perspective of Africa from the mainstream
Okay. Okay.
view
Okay.
where they just show like the downside,
Yes.
the poverty,
Yes.
and so on and so forth. And also, I had been watching like different YouTube
Okay.
channels.
Mm-hmm.
In recent times, I've had some friends that were also traveling in Africa, so I didn't have like the negative
Yes.
prejudice. I would say I was more so curious as to
Okay.
what I can discover,
Mm.
how I can grow, how I can develop mentally, spiritually, physically.
Yeah.
I didn't have like I didn't come with like an expectation.
I love
I
that.
just came with like an open mind to understand culture, and knowing that Africa has a multiplicity
Yes.
of culture,
Yeah.
multiplicity of ethnic groups and
Mm.
backgrounds. And so I just wanted to dive in, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and just learn the different history and
Yeah.
food and music, fashion, and things of that nature.
That's really interesting because I feel like it's you have to be really intentional
Mm-hmm.
about it because the media really sells a negative narrative
Of course.
about it, and that's why a lot of people are very scared about traveling here, because they believe what they see and they actually don't go deep into researching about actually where they are coming from. And I feel like a lot of Africans have an identity crisis. Don't get me wrong, mostly like in the diaspora, I
Mm-hmm.
believe they have that um identity crisis because they don't really know who they are and they're
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure that out. And I feel like if you really want to connect more with who you are, mostly as an African American, African Chinese, African Latino, you name it,
Mm-hmm.
I believe you have to really understand your roots and basically be intentional about it
Definitely.
regarding on how to connect with it, right?
Definitely. Having a knowledge of self is very important
Yeah.
because that's how you will even come to understanding your purpose and what makes you unique as an individual.
Mm.
And when you don't know your roots and what makes you who you are
Yes.
and how you came to be who you are, then it's difficult to navigate this life
Right.
because your mind will be scattered
Mm-hmm.
and you will not be grounded, and you will just take hold of anything because you have no source to define your experiences.
Right.
And so that's why, like, for me, when I came to Africa, I began to see like how relatable I am
Right.
to a lot of the experiences,
Uh-huh.
even though I had not been here. The thought process, the way that maybe I may deal with certain
Okay.
circumstances,
Okay.
I realized that it's not just unique to just how I was in America,
Mm.
but it's actually the African way.
Okay.
How I deal with certain things in life in general,
Okay.
how I process things even from a spiritual standpoint.
Right.
And so when I came here, having conversations with people like myself who like young men just
Mm-hmm.
in the same age bracket, age group,
Yes.
and how maybe they may be viewing certain things, I
Right.
realized like we may be on different sides of the
Mm-hmm.
world, but
Mm-hmm.
we're so unique and
Yes.
and the same in how we collaborate. And so I would not have known that if I didn't
Yes.
come on the continent.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when you can say, you know what, yeah, there is that camaraderie, that connectedness,
Right.
um, that we share.
That is so true. And how was the experience with the individual or the people here in Africa, like whatever country that you traveled to? Was it warm? Was it a little not bit warm? How was it?
Yeah, so in Senegal, they have this saying that I think it's called tanga,
Okay.
which means hospitality.
Yes.
And so they pride themselves in being hospitable. That is
Mm.
like the slogan of the country
Mm.
within itself. Taranga. That's the
Okay.
term. Taranga.
Taranga.
Yeah, Taranga. Taranga.
Oh,
Taranga.
Taranga. Okay.
Which means hospitality. So they treat strangers with welcome hands.
Right.
And so I would say like I had like the best experience
Mm-hmm.
there. because it's a very peaceful place. Mind you, I'm just going to say this:
Okay.
there is no such thing as a perfect place on earth. I
I
think
definitely
sometimes
agree.
people are looking for like a utopia
Uh-huh.
somewhere there is no ills,
Mm-hmm.
where there is no troubles, there is no headaches, and that doesn't exist on this planet
Mm-hmm.
Earth. You know what I mean? So long as you live on Earth, I think you always going to face a certain amount of
Right.
um, difficulty to some
Yes.
degree. But for someone to want to come to Africa because they want to escape the
Yes.
woes of
That
the
is
Western
true.
life,
Yes.
I think that's the wrong perspective to have
Okay.
because, for example, a lot of people want to leave America or the UK, wherever, because
Mm-hmm.
of the ills that they face,
Yeah.
thinking that they're gonna come to Africa and not face any struggles.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And so I don't think anyone should travel to the continent with that type of mentality because there is difficulties everywhere. But in terms of comfortability,
Mm-hmm.
um, I mean, the people are very warm. I was very comfortable. I was able
Okay.
to, just be me. You know what I mean? And Senegal, but I did speak a little bit of French though, so
Okay.
that helped a
Hey.
lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I could understand a little bit, so I was able to navigate. And then, of course, in the Gambia, they speak English
Yeah.
there. I had a lot of fun there, a lot of experiences. I have friends, family in the
Yes.
Gambia, in Senegal, friends, and
Right.
people that have became family,
Mm-hmm.
where we have a lifetime bond and
Right.
lifetime connections. And so when I came to Kenya,
Yeah.
now let me tell you this. Now I got to tell you. No, well, before
Tell
I
me
get to
about
Kenya,
it. Uh-huh.
let me go to Egypt first.
Okay.
So in Egypt, I spent a couple weeks there. It was great.
Okay.
It was very hospitable.
Mm-hmm.
Egypt also, um, it wasn't very expensive when it comes to the food.
Okay.
Um, I mean, I had a great experience
Right.
there. Then, but I didn't spend a long time per se to kind of give you a more in-depth analysis into
Mm-hmm.
the experience. But for what it's worth, it was great. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Yeah.
I would say that in all the countries that I've been to, though,
Mm-hmm.
you do have good people, and you have some people who will try to con you or
Mm-hmm.
scam you,
Yes.
maybe make a little bit more money out of you, which I'm gonna get to that part
That's okay. That's cool.
later on. But but the time while I was in Egypt,
Right.
it was around June, and so there was mandamanos going on in Kenya. There was like
Alrighty.
protests, with the
The
youth.
finance bill?
Yeah,
Yes.
regarding the finance bill.
Yeah.
So I was looking at the news and everything, and I hadn't even purchased my plane ticket yet.
Okay.
But then
This
this is before I came to
to
Kenya.
Kenya. Okay.
So then I was like, you know what, man, I'm just gonna go because I hear people on the internet talking this, talking that. I'm like, listen, man, I mean, if I can make it in America, if I can make it in the streets of
Hey,
Miami,
look at
you
that.
feel me? I can come to Kenya. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Growing up in South Florida,
Mm.
when I was like in middle school, like you grew up in certain neighborhoods where
Okay.
kids will literally be waiting for you to fight.
Right.
Like they're waiting for you to come and you gotta scrap. And so like I like certain things I'm not really afraid of, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna come to Kenya, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come and have a good time. When I landed, and then I hear, oh, on Tuesday there's gonna be
Okay, you
protest.
literally came at the time when the
What?
protests were literally
it
going
happening,
on, happening,
yeah,
yeah?
exactly. So when I got to my hotel, I was staying close by the airport, and they was like, "Oh, don't go to CBD." I'm like, "What is CBD? What the?" What they talk about
Right.
CBD? So then, I told my friend, I was like, "Hey, listen, man, I'm gonna go see about this protest. I
Yeah.
wanna go and check it out."
Mhm.
They're like,
Really?
"Nah." Yeah. That was like,
What? Stop.
yeah.
Did you participate?
No, I didn't
Like, did
participate.
you
Like, as
go?
far as going,
Did you?
no,
Okay.
because my friends didn't want me to go.
Okay.
But there was like one time there was a bridge. If you stay on top of the bridge,
Yeah.
you can see like
Okay, got it.
the tire burns.
Yes.
I went out there. I wanted to see what was going on. But to me, I feel like because when I first came to Kenya, I
Okay.
experienced the extremes
Mm.
of life. Now it's like, damn, if I can experience it at the extreme left, like when things, now it's like I just feel
Right.
comfortable, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you realize, that's life. You
For
like
sure.
when certain people feel a certain way, they
Yeah.
want to express it. Like it's everywhere. Even in America, you had
Mm.
like George Floyd protests
That's
where
true.
like there
Yeah.
was vandalism
Yes.
everywhere.
Yes.
I mean, people lost their lives.
Mm.
It's everywhere. You know what I mean? You
It is
can't, if you
everywhere.
just, if, can you imagine someone would say, oh, because there's protests in the streets of New York City, they're not
Mm.
gonna come to America.
Look at
You
that.
know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like New York City is New York City.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Like there's, but America is so much bigger and greater than New York City. You
I
know,
agree.
like, so you mean to tell me I'm gonna miss Miami? I'm gonna miss Vegas.
Right.
I'm gonna miss LA because of what's
Mm.
going on in New York.
Right.
You feel me?
Right.
So it just don't make sense. So when you really understand the overall perspective,
Right.
then it's easier to navigate.
That's amazing. Look
Yeah.
at you being all vigilant. And
Yeah.
be like, oh my gosh, you traveled all the way here during the protest.
Yeah, that
Just-
was great.
You're a go-getter.
Yeah, definitely.
Literally.
Definitely.
I want us to go back to your conversation that you basically brought up regarding the two set of people that we do have, which you mentioned one, and I kind of like figured the other.